This conference will now be recorded.
So, last class, what we had discussed here. So, we're discussing about what is the need of DevOps or what is the necessity to go for DevOps, basically, right? So, ever if you want to develop some application or if you want to develop some web applications, right? So, basically, here we're having some software development life cycle. So, within this life cycle, so we're having some different categories or different phases. So, like plan, code, build, test, deploy, operate, and monitoring. So again, these categories or these phases all belongs to the multiple teams like business team, development team, and operations team, as we discussed in our last classes. So, and even whenever if you're developing some application, so that application need to pass to multiple environments. So like development environment, testing environments, integration environment, so pre-production and production environments here basically. Okay. So whenever if you want to deploy some application on maybe some integration, pre-production and production environment, we are not able to access or we are unable to deploy that application where this operations team is coming to picture, where they're going to deploy this application on the different servers here. Okay. So and then we discussed about if you go with this waterfall model, all these three teams, like I mean, these three teams means business team, development team, and operation team are independent to work each other basically, right? But once if it is fall under some agile model, both of this business team and development team will work together for the success of the product. So still some gap is there in between this development team and operation team. So in order to fulfill that gap, we are going for a concept or we are going for a technology called as an DevOps. Nothing but development plus operations. DevOps is nothing but a development as well as a operations. So how this in the agile methodology, how this business team and development team is working together, same way because of this DevOps concept, both this development team and as well as an operation team is going to work together basically. Or simply we can say that DevOps is a practice which fills the gap between development team and operations team. Okay, so these things we discussed on yesterday. And apart from that, just we discussed about what is a web application, right? Uh, how this is a basic architecture. So which type of architecture are going to follow? Basic architecture we have discussed here, and what is this build command? So once this application is done, right? Basically, we need to execute for that as well to developer. We need to execute a predefined command called as and build, where we're going to get some var or jar files, basically. Okay, these things we discussed on yesterday. So is it fine? Any doubts here? Any of you? No doubts? I hope this concept is fine as we discussed on yesterday. So still if you're having any doubts, so you can ask me right now. Okay, so currently no need to worry about this what is this waterfall model or agile model. So in detail we're going to discuss about whenever we discuss in the actual DevOps concept. Okay, so currently just we're discussing about why this DevOps come into picture. That's it. Okay. So in detail, we're going to discuss about what is within this waterfall model. What are the different phases? Or if you go for agile model, right? What are the things we're having? So what is the difference between this waterfall model or agile model? These all these things we're going to discuss once again. Currently, no need to worry about these things. Okay. I hope this concept is fine. So we will discuss further now. So we'll discuss about how to create Azure account, hierarchy of Azure, networking, IPv4 and IPv6, network classes, how to create resource group, virtual network, subnet, how to deploy or create Windows virtual machine. Okay, so these things we'll discuss basically. So now how to create Azure account, or simply you can say that creation of Azure account. So what things we require basically. Okay, so one is we require some Gmail account, and one more thing is credit card. So I think mostly everybody is having some Gmail account, right? So, and if you observe this credit card, we need to provide some credit card details. Okay, so no need to worry about these things. So just they are going to debit of 2 rupees, and again they are going to credit back to your account. Okay, within some 3 to 4 working days. Just you need to provide some credit card. It will allow only credit card. It will not allow any debit card or master card, something like that. Okay, it will allow only credit card basically. So how you have created, or if you want to create some new Gmail account, how we are following in the same way we can create even the Azure account. Nothing difference. Only difference is, so we need to fill the credit card details as well. That is the only difference if you want to create some Azure account basically. Okay, and within this Azure account basically we have three types of we have three types of subscriptions.
ఎందుకు
Okay,
దాచిపెట్టినవే గన్ను తమ్ముడిది?
so we have three types of subscriptions. Okay, so one is free trial, so 30 days, so they will credit you $200, and one more thing is pay as you go. Okay, here these services in which we are using, we need to pay. And one more thing is student account. So anyway, this one is not utilized for us, so you can go with either of these two things, two subscriptions, free trial or pay as you go. So mostly we are going with some free trial basically. So whenever if you're going with some free trial account, so they are provide you 30 days as a free trial. So within this 30 days, they will credit you around $200 within your account. Okay, means whatever the services in which you are creating within this Azure cloud account, right? So based upon your utilization or based upon the creation of your Azure services, so they're going to debit from this respective amount, whatever the amount in which they have credited. Okay, So once if this complete amount is done within this 30 days, so there is no chance of having one more, uh, what we can say that we don't have any option to create any new services within the Azure cloud account. Till 30 days we can create. Okay, as per my knowledge. So if you're going with some free trial, right, within 30 days, even though if you are utilizing the all the services within this Azure cloud, even we are unable to utilize these even $200 maybe in INR point of view. So maybe you can utilize around 5 to 6,000. So remaining 6,000 or 7,000, so it will be there basically. Okay, because it will be utilized only for 30 days. So even if it is 31st day, so you are unable to use this free trial account here. So then you need to go for some pay as you go. Means whatever the services in which you are utilizing within the Azure cloud. So only for that services only you need to pay the amount. Okay. So basically here, uh, it can be students or professionals. What they're doing is, so first of all they're going for some free trial. Okay. So once this free trial is done, so they're going to create a one more new Gmail account, so they can use the same credit card. So that they're going to get some more one more free trial version. So that thing is going on basically. Okay, but my account is a pay as you go. So I'm not using any free trial. So just I'm going with pay as you go account. Okay, so all of you can go with some free trial account. So just create, if you're already having some Gmail, so mostly you're 99% you're having some Gmail accounts, right? So try to you create one account. So provide some credit card details. So try to create some Azure free trial account. Okay, so it is a very simple. So you don't need to worry about creation of these things. It is not a rocket science. It is very very easy, simple. So try to create this free trial. So still, if you are facing or any issues, or if you are having some any doubts, or if you are stuck in somewhere, right? So just drop me an email to me. We will discuss in detail. Okay. So then hierarchy of Azure. So basically, we're having some Azure account that is nothing but tenant ID, subscription ID, resource group, virtual networks or sub networks, and virtual machine. Okay, so this is the hierarchy of Azure. So basically, any Azure account. So whenever if you're trying to create some Azure cloud account, so definitely we're having some tenant ID and subscription ID. These two things is common. Whether it is a pay as you go or a free trial account. Okay, but these resource group, virtual network, subnet, and virtual machine, these are the services within the Azure cloud accounts. Okay, so if you want, you can create, or if you don't want to create any of these respective services within the Azure cloud account here. Okay, here these are the important points. Each account will have one tenant ID, or we can call it as a permanent ID. Each tenant ID will have multiple subscription IDs. Okay, each tenant ID will have multiple subscription ID. Each subscription ID will have multiple resource group. Okay, each resource group will have multiple virtual networks. Each virtual network will have multiple subnetworks. Each virtual machine will have all the above things. Okay, so here each account will have one tenant ID and each account will have multiple subscriptions. So these 2 points we doesn't require, okay, because these two things is common for any account, whether it is a free trial or pay as you go account. Okay, but here onwards we require basically. Okay, so as I mentioned you, these are the services within the Azure cloud account. If you want you can create, or if you don't want you don't want to create, but this tenant ID subscription ID it will be there whenever if you're trying to create a new Azure account. Okay, so now here each subscription ID will have a multiple resource group, or each resource group will have a multiple virtual network. Again, each virtual network will have a multiple subnetwork, or each virtual machine will have all the above things. So let us represent these things in diagram so that it is easy for us. So just I'm going with a single resource group. So this is resource group, and each resource group will have multiple virtual networks and as well as in subnets, right? So it is a combination of virtual network plus subnet, subnetworks, or it can be subnet, anything is fine. So like this. So single resource group can have multiple virtual networks and as well as multiple subnets as well. Okay. Now each this virtual network and subnet it may have multiple virtual machines. These are the multiple virtual machines. This is one virtual machine. This virtual network is have some two virtual machines. So these are the virtual machines, nothing but a VMs, virtual machine. Okay. So here, if you go with single resource group, may have some multiple virtual network and subnetworks, and each virtual network and subnet may have some multiple virtual machines. Okay. So the same thing even we can achieve practically within the Azure cloud account as well. Okay, so is it fine, these things? Any doubts here, any of you? Any doubts here on this diagram? So here now we'll go with
Is it
one scenario. Yes,
so is this hello? Is the resource group is same as VPC in the AWS?
your voice is breaking.
Is this resource group is there, right? So is it similar to VPC in AWS?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
So let us go with some one scenario. So just I'm creating one resource group, okay, and one virtual network and one sub network and virtual machine. Maybe I want to create some Linux machine. Let us assume. So this is one scenario which I want to achieve within the Azure cloud account. Okay, so I want to create some resource group, one virtual network, and followed by some sub network, and after that finally I want to create some virtual machine. So here virtual machine means it can be a some Windows related virtual machine or it can be some Linux related. Okay, so if you go for operating systems, basically if you go for Windows operating system, so what are the different flavors we're having? Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows Vista, Windows 10. So like that we're having so many flavors, but which are related to the Windows operating system, right? Basically. Now if you go with some Linux operating system, so what are the different flavors here? So here also we're having some Ubuntu, Red Hat Linux or CentOS. So like that we're having some different flavors which are related to the Linux operating system. So like that we're having some different operating systems and different each and every operating system is having some different flavors of that respective operating system here. So here virtual machine means it can be some Windows operating system or it can be some Linux operating system. It can be any of this virtual machine. It can be any of it can be any of the respective operating system. So here I'm going with some Linux operating system. Okay, just I'm trying to create this all these things in the Azure cloud account. So just I mean I'm logging to within my Azure cloud account. So basically this is the Azure cloud account, how it is going to look like. Okay. So if you want to know some of the service or if you want to, so here if you observe, these are the Azure services. So if you observe virtual network, some DNS zones, virtual machines, some resource group, so SQL databases. So like this, we're having so many services which are related to the Azure. So if you're not finding some service, okay, so you can go here and you can type the respective service. So maybe I want to implement some load balancing, right? Load balancers. So you can go for this respective service, or maybe some virtual network gateways. So I can go with some virtual network gateways. So you can find whatever the service. So if you are not finding within this Azure services, so if you want to get that respective service, you can search in this respective search bar. Or so here you can find the here. Go to all services. So these are the different categories within that respective service. So let us assume I want to go for some databases. So now within this database categories, these are the different services what we are having. Okay, SQL servers, SQL databases, data factories, okay, SQL virtual machines, like that. Otherwise, if I want to work on for blockchain, okay, so currently they're having only one service, Azure blockchain service. Or if you're going with some machine learning, so these are the different services which is present in Azure cloud account. Okay, so like that for each and every category, so we're having so many services. Okay, but currently, so we want to achieve this scenario, right? So first of all, let me create some resource group. So this is the resource group. So if you're not finding, so just go to search bar and type some resource group. So this is the thing. Click on it. Okay, so you can go for click on create button. Okay, so currently if you observe here subscription, so this subscription is currently I'm having some Azure subscription one. So basically whenever if you're trying to create some Azure account, you're going to get here as a free trial, okay, for you. So maybe I'm creating some resource group name, maybe some Azure test. So you can select any of these regions. Okay, these are the multiple regions what we're having. Okay, so mostly go with some US, East US or West US. So even when compared to East US, go with some West US because the charges are very less if you're going with some West US. Okay, because each and every region, so charges is going to vary, depends upon the usages or depends upon the traffic. Okay, so like that. So you can go with some East US. Next, go for next tags. Okay, so this resource group belongs to which environment? So yesterday we discussed about some different environments, right? Like development environment, testing environment, or integration. So you can mention, so this resource group is belongs to maybe some development environment. You can mention these things. So maybe some you can use some ENV environment, maybe some development environment, like that. If you want, you can provide, but this is not a mandatory. Okay, so if you observe in this basics option, if you observe at the top here, you're having some star, right? These are the mandatory compulsory we need to provide. So if you're not providing, it will not allow to further. Okay, so here immediately we're getting some entire resource group. Or if you observe in the basics option at the top, we're getting some dot as a symbol, means it is a mandatory compulsory we need to provide. So even though if you're not providing, you're going for tags and you're going for review and create. So if you observe, finally we're getting some message, validation failed, required information is missing or not valid, something it is saying some message to us, some user friendly message. Okay, to the respective user whoever creating some service resource group as a service within the Azure cloud account. Okay, so then you need to go to this basics and you need to provide some Azure, some name, some resource group name. So click on next tags, next review and create. See here now, validation passed, means everything is fine, everything is matched as part of the resource group. Okay, so then just you can click on create. So now it is created with the name as Azure test. So it is created one resource group with the name as Azure test. Simple. Okay. So after that, what we need to do? So we need to create some virtual network. So again, if you're not finding some service, go to the search bar and type some virtual networks. So these are the virtual networks. So click on create. So we already created some resource group, right? What is the resource group name? Azure test. Select this resource group. So you can give some name, Azure test hyphen VNet, nothing but virtual network. So reason, you can select any reason if you want, whatever the reason you want. And I'm going with some East US. Next IP address. So here if you observe this IPv4, by default they're providing some 10.0.0.0/16. That is the default IP address. Means so compulsory it should be some /16 only if you're going with some virtual network. Otherwise I can provide something like this 10.11.0.0/16. Okay, but here if you observe within this virtual network, so we're having some subnet. I mean within the virtual network itself, so we have to add some subnet as well. Click on this add subnet, right, and provide some subnet name Azure test hyphen subnet, something like this. Okay, so if you observe this subnet address range, they have specified, right? Example 10.0.0.0/24. Okay, so here the conclusion is if you want to create some virtual network IP address, so compulsory it should be /16. If you want to create some subnet address, right, so it should be /24. Okay, here how we have created 10.11.0.0/16, right? So here also same way 10.11. Maybe you can give some 1.0/24, compulsory /24. Okay, so then click on add. So that respect to subnet is added now, Azure test hyphen subnet. So then go for security. So currently what about this security tags. If you want, you can provide some tags. Next review and create. So just is going to check all these validations of this respective options. So validation is passed. Finally click on create. Okay, so here I'm not going for any in-depth of these concepts, just I'm going for basics. So how to create these services within the Azure cloud account, that is only our intention currently. Okay, okay, so deployment is succeed. So even you can get the notifications here also. Okay, so previously we have created some resource group is created. So now here deployment succeed, nothing but virtual network is created, deployment of Microsoft virtual network, something. So here if you observe, we have done with this resource group and we have done with some virtual network and we have done with some sub network as well. And now we need to create some virtual machine, right? So you can go here and you can type some virtual machines. Click on create. So here we already created some resource group, right? So that is the same resource group, whatever the resource group which I have created. So you can give some name. So here, as I mentioned, use some Linux machine, right? Maybe some Linux machine 1. Okay. So here whenever if you have, let us assume you have purchased some new laptop, right? So if you want to utilize that laptop, what we are doing, you need to install some OS. It can be some Linux operating system or it can be Windows operating system. Mostly 70% we are going to install some Windows operating system, maybe some Windows 10 or Windows 7, something like that, right? So whenever if you are installing, so even you can partitions your disks, right? How many number of disks you want, whether, so if you want some 2 disks or 4 disks, like some C, D, E, F drives, right? So these things, so it is going to be, this hard disk is going to be partitioned into n number of disks or n number of drives, right? So these things is going to happen whenever if you're installing some software or installing some operating system into the respective laptops. So these things we are doing basically, right? The same things, so we can achieve by using within the Azure cloud or any cloud computing platforms as well. Okay, so now here I want to create some virtual machine. Here virtual is nothing but, what is the virtual meaning? Not able to see, simply we can say that. Okay, everything we are creating inside of Azure cloud account, what I mean to say, that is nothing but what is exactly virtual. Okay, so how you are installing your laptop, I mean, if you want to utilize your new laptop, how we are installing the respective operating system, or we are partitioning the respective drives, these all these things how we are doing manually, the same thing we can implement in the Azure cloud account as well. This is our one, uh, we can say that it is a, simply we can say that it is a laptop only, but it is a virtual which is available in the Azure cloud account. Okay, so if you observe your laptop, that is nothing but your physical laptop or a physical machine, we can say that. But here we are creating the same things. We are choosing your respective operating system, and we are choosing the number of disks or RAMs or CPUs, something like that. But everything we are creating within the Azure cloud account. That is the reason we are calling as an, it is a virtual machine or a virtual laptop or something. What we can say that. Okay. So if you observe here, you can click on the see all images. So here you can choose whatever the operating system you want. Okay, whether you require some Windows related operating systems, right? Or it can be some Linux related operating system like some Red Hat, or maybe some Debian, or maybe some Ubuntu, or maybe some CentOS. So it depends. Okay, so currently, as I mentioned you, I want to go with some Ubuntu, right? So that is the reason here I'm selecting the Ubuntu server. Okay, so after selecting this here, if you observe this here, image is nothing but choosing of your operating system, whether it is in Windows operating system flavors or whether it is in Ubuntu related flavors. Okay, so then you can go with these sizes. So as I mentioned you, a number of hard disks, or how many number of CPUs you want, or RAM, these all these things basically. Okay, so click on the see all sizes. So here you can choose number of CPUs or how much amount of RAM you require, some data disks, okay, storage, outputs or inputs, input operations, these all these things. So based upon your selection of this number of CPUs, RAMs or data disk, so your cost will be there basically. Okay, so if you're going with some least one, right? So you're getting some one CPU, one RAM, okay, RAM itself one RAM, size is 1 GB, okay, two data disks, right, and 4 GB size. So if you observe basically laptops you're getting 1 TB of hard disk, right, or maybe some 500 GB like that we're getting, right? But here only 4 GB total size, what I mean to say. Okay, so if you're going with some 2187, we're getting some 8 GB of storage, 2 CPUs and 4 RAM we're getting. Okay, you can select this one. Any of these things you can select. Okay, it depends upon your usage. So basically I'm going with some 2000. I'm going with some B2S. Okay, select this one. Size. So authentication tip. So basically once if you install respect to operating system, on once these partitions everything is done, you can set your username and password in your respect to laptops or it can be machines, right? Here also same thing, but here authentication type is one is SSH public key and one more thing is password. Currently I'm going with password. This SSH public key we will discuss later. Okay, so you can provide some username and password. Maybe I'm providing some Shiva one, some password. So click on none. Next, disks. So go with standard SSD. Next, networking. Okay, if you observe in the networking, so you're going to get the respect to VNet, whatever the virtual network we have created and whatever the subnet we have created. Okay. Next, management. Disable this monitoring. Next, advanced. Next, tags. If you want, you can provide some tags. Next, review and create. So it is going to check all these options, each and every options. I mean, it is going to check basics, disks, networking, all this valid or not. So if it is valid, validation passed. Okay, finally click on create. So creation of this virtual machine is going on. Okay, so meanwhile, if anybody is having any doubts, you can ask me. So this is the way how to create some resource group, virtual network, subnetwork, and virtual machine. Here we have created some Linux virtual machine. So this is the way how to create all these things. So anyway, it is going to create. It will take some time to create. So any doubts in these things? Just we have created only basic things. That's it. Okay, we are not going for, I mean, inbuilt concepts we did not discuss. So just we have created one Linux machine, right? But how can we utilize or how can we access this respective virtual machine or Linux machine? So these things we'll discuss in our upcoming classes. Just to give some how it is, how can we utilize this Azure cloud account, within this Azure cloud account how to create some services. So that things only just we discussed here. Apart from that, we did not discuss actual concepts. So now if you observe these virtual machines, so this is our respect to virtual machine. Okay, so here you're going to get these all these things. So what is the resource group, right? What is the location, status, current status it is running. Okay, operating system is Linux. Size standard underscore B2S. It is having some public IP at some IP address, right? Disks one something. So how can we utilize or how can we access this respect to virtual machine, right? We will discuss later. But this is the way how to create some resource group, subnetwork or virtual network subnetwork, and finally we have created some virtual machine. So any doubts in these things, any of you?
Shiva, please show me the output. Just now we have created that virtual machine, right? What if we?
Yes.
I want to see the output. If we click, what happens?
Nothing. It will display all these things.
Doesn't it take to Linux out machine?
No. If you want to access this one, So that is a separate thing we need to discuss.
Okay, fine.
Just we have created, that's it. That is the thing I have mentioned you. Just we have created Linux machine. I'm
Okay,
not discussing about how to utilize this machine. That is a separate concept.
okay, sure. Okay.
So here, if you go to our view, right? So same thing. We're going to get the what are the resource groups, status, current status it is running, right? Location, some subscription ID, operating system. What is the operating system which I have chosen? Size, 2 CPUs and 4 GB RAM, some IP address. So these things we'll discuss. The public IP address. So if you observe this virtual network, right? What is the virtual network name slash? What is our subnet name? These all these things we have basically. Any doubts?
So
Any of you?
we can create n number of servers. There is no limit.
I mean, you're asking about virtual machines.
Virtual Linux machines or else Windows like that. Anything we can create n number of. Or else is there any limit? Or
For a
this
free
many?
for for a free trial, you have limit. For a free trial, you can create only 3 virtual machines.
Okay, okay.
But for paid version, you can create n number of servers or virtual machines.
Okay, Shiva, I cleared my doubts. Thank you.
For free trial, so if you're going with some, if you observe, we have created some resource group, right? Within the resource group, we have selected the region as well. I'm going with some East US, right? So if you're going with some free trial for this specific to East US or East US region, you can create only 3 virtual machines. Okay, so if you want to create some more virtual machine, so you need to create a one more resource group with one more region, maybe some West US or maybe some more. It can be any region, whatever the reason you want. So if you go with some West US, you can create 3 more virtual machines on that specific region. But if you're going with some paid version or pay as you go version, right, or pay as you go subscription, so within the East US itself, you can create some 3, 4, 5. It depends upon your requirement. But free trial, they have given some limit as a only 3 virtual machines you can create basically. Okay.
Okay, sure.
So after creating some of these services within this Azure cloud account, right? Here, one important point is, so let us assume I have created these services. Just I'm going my account and I'm going for sign out. Okay, if I click on this sign out, so the services already it will be available within the Azure cloud account and it is going to charge it by Microsoft organizations. Okay, if you are going for simply sign out option. Okay, even though if you are not utilizing these services. So here Microsoft point of view is, so you have created some services, right? Whether if you are utilizing or not, they're going to charge it until unless if you are not deleting these services. Okay, so once if you created these services, if you don't want to utilize these services before going for sign out option, so you need to delete these services as well, what of the services which you have created, like resource group, virtual network, sub network, and virtual machine. These things also you need to do. Okay, so here instead of deleting each and every service, let us assume I am deleting this virtual machine, right? Or I am deleting some virtual network and subnet. So instead of deleting each and every service, so just delete this resource group. Okay, just delete this resource group so that whenever if you deleted this resource group, all this virtual network subnet and even this virtual machine, it is going to delete it automatically. Instead of deleting each and every service or each and individual service, right? So just try to delete the resource group so that this virtual network subnetwork and the respective virtual machine is going to delete automatically. and then you need to sign out, then click on the sign out button. Okay, that is the important point. Is this point is clear, all of you? Okay, before going for sign out option, so compulsory you need to delete the whatever the services in which you have created within your Azure cloud account. It is mandatory. You need to delete all these things before going for sign out option. If you are not deleting, so money will be charged in your respect to Azure cloud account by Microsoft organization. Okay, so just go to resource group, click on this Azure test, select the respect to name, go to this delete resource group and paste that respect to name here, whatever the resource group name you have created. Click on delete, so it will delete automatically. So what this network watcher RG we will discuss later. Okay, but delete this one as well. So it will take some time to delete basically. Okay, whenever this deletion is going on, all these things is going to delete automatically. Means it will delete the virtual network and sub network, and whatever the machine we have created. We have created some name with the machine name as a Linux machine one, right? These things also it is going to delete automatically. Okay, so this is the creation and creation of the services within the Azure cloud account and deletion of these services within the Azure cloud account here. This is the basic things basically. So once this deletions is done, right, so you're going to get some message as a deleted resource group Azure test. So then you can go for some sign out option of that respect to Azure cloud account. Okay, so any doubts, any of you? So that's all for today.